Hi everybody, my name is April Rashad. I'm a certified TLS weight loss solution coach, and I'm so happy to be bringing you to week 2, which means that you successfully ended your week of detox. So now you get to learn about eating low glycemic impact foods and what you're going to be eating from here forward. So great job. And the first question is, how do you feel? There's going to be a lot of information in here today, by the way, guys, so you may want to listen to this webinar more than one time, but this point after detox, you should be feeling lighter, maybe less bloated or more energetic. A lot of people tell us that they already are surprised that eating just so many vegetables and so little of other foods that they really have less cravings, and it's really surprising sometimes. You may even notice, whether you were totally aware of it or not, that your mood is more stable or that you're sleeping better, or maybe you've just become a little bit more aware of your habits, in terms of your behaviors around food or when you eat or what you go to, or even how much food that you actually do eat. So hopefully you're feeling some of these things even more. We always have so many aha moments for people after they finish the week of detox. But keep in mind as you move forward what your goals are. So if you need to have an old picture of you where you really loved the way you look, or a current picture of you that you really just got sick of the way you look, or a picture of your kids because you want to be a good role model, you may want to write out a goal statement that really explains and talks to yourself with some positive affirmations about why you're doing this. Sometimes I like to get a clothing magazine, like an Athleta magazine or Title IX that has athletic clothing that I absolutely love, and that kind of keeps me on the straight and narrow, being able to pin up, just real women who have athletic bodies the way I like to look, and making sure that I pin that up in places where I can see it so I remember what my goals are. You may just have clothes that you want to fit back into, or a dress because you're going to an event in a month or on a cruise or something. You may want to pin up your bathing suit. You may want to have a calendar. For some people, just being aware that starting tomorrow, and starting tomorrow is just the way they've been living their life. So just having a countdown of either reminders or days of how many days until they're hitting their goal, or just to be able to live week by week and be reminded is just something that's going to keep you on track. So you know yourself, but make sure you have these things at the ready. Your TLS Health Guide is wonderful for that, because there are activities in there that are going to guide you through what your obstacles are, why you're doing this. You have places to be able to put pictures and record your results so you can keep track of your progress, and you can even do this online as well. Also be sure to look out for TLS Weight Loss Solution challenges that get put forth by the corporate team who actually have implemented TLS. And sometimes these have monetary prizes or other types of prizes for before and after pictures and essays that go along with your fantastic results. So now it's time to learn how to eat foods with a low glycemic impact, and this is going to teach your body, again, to stay in a fat-burning mode. That's really the key, other than keeping your blood sugar stable. And we're going to eat foods that are not just about helping your body to lose weight, but they're healthy in general, and they are actually going to also lower inflammation, which is key for disease prevention, but also to fix maybe a few issues that are ailing you right now. Just remember, though, we put these webinars out as a way, as a few of us coaches have been teaching classes or teaching clients one-on-one of how to follow the TLS system, but they are designed as an adjunct to the incredible tools already available through the TLS system. They are intended to provide extra support and guidance, but not intended to replace these critical tools and resources that you have available to you, not just through your coach and the TLS system in general, but through TLSslim.com as well. So the best tools that you really do have available to you, other than your coach and these webinars, is the health guide that is put out by TLS Weight Loss Solution and TLSslim.com, where there are many free services on TLSslim.com, but if you choose to have a subscription, there are many other resources on there that will be available to you, and we'll go over some of those as we go through. One of my favorite things on there are just some of the recipes, but also having customized exercise programs that are graduated that give you ideas, 10 minutes of something that you can do right in front of the TV while you're watching TV at night, or 10 minutes in the morning. And I also love the fact that I do take accelerators and supplements in my life, and so whether they're TLS related or not, I get to have reminders that are sent to me through text. And I'm just somebody who likes to be online, so being able to track my progress, see before and after pictures, and be able to log my measurements is really helpful for me as well. Remember, from the last webinar, there are 4 great ways to get started with TLS. We have a program that really meets everybody's needs. One is the Fat Shredder, which is really a 2-week jumpstart program. Again, I use it a lot of times in the middle of what you're going through. Your 12-week program right now that you're on to change your lifestyle is called Rapid Results. That's what we're following right now. But sometime along the way, you may want to switch things up a little. You may want to ask your coach about the Fat Shredder program, because sometimes it's just a way to follow the same science of TLS, but do it in a way that you have something different for about 2 weeks. Then there's Sure and Steady. This is just a more conservative approach to, again, eating low glycemic impact foods, maybe just not as aggressive right out of the gate. Your results will be a little bit slower, but that's okay if that's mentally where you are right now in terms of making changes in your life. Then there's the people that are on the go a lot, or they have big families, or they travel, and they don't like to cook, or maybe they shouldn't cook. And that's why we have Simply Delivered, which are meals that you can be sent to you. I know many people who are following Rapid Results, but at some point, once they harness how to eat the food in our Rapid Results program, they love Simply Delivered, because this is gourmet to you food. This is not, a Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig's, boxed frozen food. This is something you would get if you had a personal chef, and it's going to get delivered to your door. A little bit more costly, but for the people who are utilizing this to not have to go grocery shopping, to have it to their door, to know that it's going to be TLS friendly and that it's going to be very, very fresh, just at least look at In the Zone through your coach's website, and you'll get to see some of the different meals that you may want to have just at the ready in your refrigerator, so that if you did get in a pinch and you wanted to grab something, that's another way to use it. Doesn't mean you have to have all of your meals delivered to you. But again, Rapid Results is the most aggressive approach to get to your goals, and that's why we like to do this when we either teach a class or we're going to take the time to teach somebody one-on-one. But you can go, and it's free, to take an online survey at tlsslim.com to see which one of these 4 plans you fit into. So even though you're following Rapid Results, you can shake back and forth between them, or at least you can tell your coach what your results were, so they have an idea mentally where sort of you are in terms of getting started. But please, be sure that you are signed up with your coach. It's free. They just want to make sure that they have you in the computer system. So if you did get a subscription or purchase anything through tlsslim.com, that it will be associated with them. And if you do journal online, that they would be able to see certain elements of what's going on with your progress and be able to help you successfully in that way. So what do I eat now is the big question. I'm through detox, and now week 2 is about learning how to eat low glycemic impact foods. And we are temporarily going to be eliminating foods that are most inflammatory to your system that can prevent fat loss. And that's very important to remember, is that any kind of inflammation you have in your body systemically is going to prevent your body from wanting to let go of fat. We want to do everything we can to allow your body to let go of fat. We're going to be helping you to repair your metabolism and curbing your cravings and balance your blood sugar and your insulin response over this 12-week process. Now, it takes about 6 weeks or so for us to help to regulate that, blood sugar and insulin response and really get you on track with, new habits. Therefore, you're already through 1 week. So for the next 5 weeks, we're going to be eliminating all grains, which includes cereals, breads, pastas, and stuff, and that's so that you can have the most rapid results. If that's scary to you, listen to the whole webinar, and then you can talk to your coach about doing Sure and Steady. But I have to tell you that the people who are most nervous about detox and nervous about eliminating grains, that do it anyway and see how that affects them, are so incredibly surprised at how great they feel, how fast the results are, and how many of them don't even want to go back to grains because of the way that they really made them feel. We're going to help you to customize what's going to be right for you, but for now, eliminating all cereals, breads, and pastas, even the low-fat, even the wheat kind, is going to be very key, and you're going to learn why that is. So as a quick review, remember, just because a food is low sugar does not mean it's low glycemic index or has a low glycemic impact. And a great example of this is Cheerios that we talked about before. If you look at a label for some of these cereals, you'll see a very low sugar content. However, some foods break down so quickly to sugar that they also are going to elevate your blood sugar as if you just ate a candy bar. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So those foods should be avoided as well. And many, many grains, including ones that are whole grain that you see or wheat, we're going to go through that when we go through label reading in another webinar. But you're going to be so surprised to learn how many foods you thought that were really nutritionally sound or that were helping your weight loss efforts were actually really preventing you from losing weight. And that should be good news, because that means you can stop being discouraged and you can stop thinking that it's your fault, but really a lot of the information that's out there is false in terms of what's going to help your body to lose weight. So some foods, though, even if they're a little bit higher glycemic index, if they're timed properly or paired with other foods or proportioned right, you can have a less of an impact on your blood sugar. So, if you looked up the glycemic index of a carrot or a watermelon or a cantaloupe, Well, these foods are actually higher on the glycemic index scale, so they're more likely to elevate your blood sugar a little bit faster and a little bit higher. And of course, we're trying to avoid that. However, you know, if as long as you didn't have just a big bowl of melon first thing in the morning, but you had some melon with maybe some other berries, or you paired it with a protein, that may have a better impact for you. You know, if you ended up having some other food later down the line that was a grain, but again, you didn't have it as the first thing in a meal when you went out to dinner, then that may have a lesser impact on you. So we'll talk about that as we go through this program. Here are the basic rules, though, for how you're going to be eating in the next 5 weeks. It's really like detox plus adding some other foods, meaning you've already gotten used to eating way more vegetables than you were used to. And actually the goal is 8 to 12 servings a day, if you can believe it, because that's the base of how your body from your ancestry was intending to eat. That's where you're supposed to get the most carbohydrates. It's what's going to fill you up and get your body's, you know, regulating systems and hormones and stuff so stable that it's really going to be the thing that helps you to avoid cravings. And, you know, you're going to be so surprised that by continuing to keep an elevated level and intake of vegetables with green as the base, but all the colors and the variety mixed in there, you know, how successful you're really going to be at this program and in life following a good eating plan. So this should be the base of your diet. So keep those vegetables, you know, the first thing you think of in terms of what you're eating for the day. Second is fruits. Now in detox, you got to eat up to 3 servings per day, but now you're going to drop that down slightly, 1 to 2 servings per day. And you want to stick to the fruits that are lower on the glycemic index scale. Again, there's going to be resources on TLS Slim or through your coach that are going to help you to identify which ones those are. But really, the highest glycemic index fruits are those that are in the melon category. So it's like grapes, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, and things like that. What you're wanting to stick to for fruits are the berries, the strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, maybe apples, pears, even grapefruits and oranges would be wonderful. So you're going to kind of stick in that category. Now, for protein, you're going to have 3 servings per day or thereabouts. And for women, it's going to be 3 to 4 ounces. For men, it's going to be 5 to 6 ounces as an idea. And we'll go through what a serving size really kind of looks like. But, you know, think about the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. That's probably what 3 to 4 ounces for women is going to look like. So you can go to your TLS Health Guide, and it's going to actually have a Rapid Results meal plan idea in the back for women and men. Some people just need to see that on paper, and so that's going to be really helpful for you to be able to get some ideas of what does that look like in terms of food, and we'll go over that as well. All right, so far you have vegetables, fruits, and proteins. That's the base of how you should be eating forever. But we also, you know, might add in, even though fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates, as we've learned, we do have other things that might feel to you like they're more carb-like. So these would be like, you know, the starchy vegetables, the legumes, the nuts, the seeds, the beans, things of that nature, that you might have thought, well, yep, they're proteins, but they may be incomplete. And so they actually respond in your body more like a carbohydrate because of their carbohydrate content. Now, the rule here is that there's 0 to 2 of these per day, meaning you don't have to have them, but you should not exceed 2 per day. And you're going to do that based on your likes, the foods you have available, how hungry you are, and sort of just what your day looks like. So there's no real exact thing here, but 0, 1, or 2 of these carbohydrates per day is really what our rule is for Rapid Results. And if you have the download, which is a PDF, like just a, you know, a printed copy of the TLS Rapid Results sheet, you'll see that these things are asterisked. So they typically will have, you know, a list, so you know what some of those starchy vegetables or things that fall into the protein category that, you know, really are more like a carbohydrate, they're going to have an asterisk next to them. But let's go over what those might be. On this list of what we call a low GI carb, okay, would be the starchy vegetables like sweet potato or spaghetti squash. There would be the beans and the legumes, which would include all varieties of, you know, spreads and soups and things like that, meaning every kind of bean or a hummus, you know, or a black bean soup or something to that effect. But you might be surprised to know that peanuts are actually a legume, you know, lentils, peas, beans, green beans, that we thought, well, those fall into the vegetable category. Actually, they're really more of a carbohydrate, and they fall into the legume or the bean category. And then we have things like nuts and seeds. Please have these raw, but nuts and seeds are going to be fantastic for you. Just, even though they have great sources of fat in them, count them more like a carbohydrate. So if you're sprinkling some nuts and seeds on a salad during the day, or putting some black beans in there, or having some hummus with some veggies as a snack, these are all fine, but just be aware that as you're tracking these, they're more like one of these things that you shouldn't have more than 2 of any of these in combination per day. So what does a sample day maybe look like? It looks like something like this for breakfast. And again, you have to go by the kinds of foods that you like. So you can have a list of all the proteins, all of the vegetables and the fruits, and the ones that are asterisked, or on a separate list of, what's the sort of considered a low GI carb. We used to call that a level 1 or a category 1, by the way, these carbohydrates. But now we just sort of have a list under vegetables or proteins of which have a higher carb content. So here's what a breakfast might look like. Maybe eggs or egg whites with veggies in them. Maybe you sauteed some onions, mushrooms, or spinach, within an omelet or within a scramble. And maybe you put a little sprinkle of cheese, goat cheese, feta cheese, or some, shredded low-fat cheddar. Or maybe you don't like eggs. So maybe you had something like a Greek yogurt, which has a high protein content versus a regular yogurt, and you had it plain, but you sweetened it with a little bit of agave, which is sort of like a syrup, and maybe you put some berries in there. For those of you who have coaches that have a recipe for what we call our yummy bowl, you'll definitely want to look at that. Sometimes we put a little shake mix in there to sweeten it up, or to flavor it a little bit, the plain yogurt, and put the berries in it, and it's fantastic. A lot of different ways that you can make the yummy bowl. For a snack, maybe it's mid-morning, maybe you went and had some cut-up vegetables with some hummus or guacamole that you had pre-made or that you purchased at the store for lunch. Maybe you had a salad with lots of mixed vegetables, everything from peppers and cucumbers and celery and carrots and lots of different colors in it. Maybe you even had some steamed broccoli from the night before, and you put some grilled chicken in it and some cut up olives, and you had it with a vinaigrette, because dressings are fine at this point. If you wanted to add in one of those low, as we call, glycemic index carbs, maybe you put some cold peas in there or some black beans as an example. And you don't have to put in a full serving either. A serving of beans, as we'll go over later, is about a half a cup, but that's a lot. Maybe just to put a sprinkle in there to add some extra fiber to give you some sustained energy, or to just be able to enjoy the flavor and add a little bit more carb content might just be the way to go. And some people may not choose to add that at all, and that's fine. For a snack, you might have a TLS shake, chocolate or vanilla, and maybe for dinner you had some grilled salmon, some homemade sweet potato fries we can give you a recipe for, with some steamed asparagus or grilled asparagus in a side salad. Or maybe you had pork tenderloin with some roasted garlic broccoli in a salad. And if you were still hungry later, you baked a half of an apple or a full apple with some cinnamon on it, and it tasted just like a little apple pie or a nice little treat at the end of the day. That's just an example, and there are many great ideas in the back of the TLS Health Guide, or that your coach can give you as a handout. But use your resources. As I said, the Health Guide has meal plans. TLSslim.com has a PDF list of the rules for rapid results. It has food lists, and it also has a community, helpful videos and articles to really kind of keep you on track and get some great ideas. You can search for recipes there as well, but certainly also ask your coach and be aware that they have resources available to them as well through a community of coaches, through corporate, and that we may have had things that we've collected along the way that we're able to provide to you as an adjunct to everything else that's available. Now, here are some side notes on eating and also some frequently asked questions, the next few slides that we'll go over. I think the big one is protein that we want to cover. First of all, what's a serving size? Well, we used a reference of maybe a deck of cards or the palm of your hand as sort of an idea of what might be about 3 to 4 ounces as your reference. But if you were looking at grams of protein, there's no hard and fast rule, and really it depends on how big you are and how much activity level you have in your life. But about 25 grams of protein is really all your body can consume at one shot. So, when you go into the gym and they've got these protein shakes with 42 grams of protein, be aware your body really can't assimilate that all at once. So, 18 to 25 grams would be great, and that is about what a piece of fish or chicken has actually, in a serving size is about 25 grams protein. But be aware that in this country, a typical food that we might have for breakfast has a lot less. So we don't want you adding up the grams of protein, but as an example, an egg only has 5 grams of protein. Cottage cheese has 11, and a plain yogurt, like a non-Greek yogurt, would have 7. So you could see in this example that basically, if you only had a hard-boiled egg at breakfast and you haven't eaten the entire night before, you may be starving your body of some protein until midday when you had a piece of chicken on a salad, and that's not a good idea. Now, let's say you get up really early in the morning according to your schedule, and all you could really consume was a hard-boiled egg and, some cut-up veggies or something like that. That's okay, but then you need to be aware that somehow in the next hour or two, you need to get in some protein. It's going to keep you satiated. It's going to help your body to burn fat, and it's very important to the overall plan for you to maintain healthy levels of protein and not be dipping where you have high levels later in the day and low levels in the morning. You want to kind of keep that even throughout the day, so just be aware of that. Now, what are some really good sources of protein? In my opinion, lean and organic. So organic chicken, turkey, pork, fish are all great ideas. And really, there's no fish that's off limits. Shellfish is wonderful. Regular fish is fine. I am very careful when I have deep water fish like salmon or mahi or swordfish, that I make sure, and even if I'm going to a grocery store and getting a bag of shrimp, I'm careful of where it comes from. You want to be aware of mercuries and PCBs and other impurities that might be in some of the foods you're eating. So aside from like steroids and antibiotics, which is why I go organic with chicken and turkey and pork, with the fish, I'm looking for wild Alaskan coho salmon. Or I'm looking for shrimp that's not going to be purchased where on the back, maybe it says Washington State is where it was sourced, or Alaska was where it was sourced, but not to go to like Vietnam or Korea or something like that, because there's very, very high levels of where they actually are getting these fish from, and they're farming them, and you really do need to be very careful. Also, people wonder, is red meat okay? And the answer is yes, but here again, you're looking for organic, but you want to get something that's grass-fed. I know in our local grocery store, which happens to be a Stop and Shop here, we have wonderful grass-fed beef that, filet mignons and tenderloins and other great cuts of meat that are grass-fed. Maybe you have a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's in your area where you can get grass-fed beef. And the reason to go grass-fed is, A, that you're going to be getting less grains that the actual animal ate, and you're also going to be getting a better ratio of omega-3 fatty acids than omega-6 fatty acids than you would find in regular meats. But if you're eating grass-fed beef, it can be a very healthful lean cut for you, and you don't want to have the real big fatty meats that are just gotten because we don't have animals that are roaming wild anymore. So any kind of wild, red meat that you can get or beef that you can get will be great. Now, dairy is actually a complete protein, likened to a chicken, turkey, or a beef. However, there's a few notes here, and we're going to go over it, but a lot of people can have intolerances to dairy. You want to make sure that dairy, if you're eating it, is not your only source of protein. And so something like a 2% plain Greek yogurt, wonderful. It's got 18 to 22 grams of protein in it. That's a great source, but you want to also stay away from thinking that any kind of cheese or something like that is really a great source of dairy for you. So not that you can't have a low-fat cheese stick or, piece of cheddar cheese with a snack, with some veggies or something during the day. I'm not saying that, or a Laughing Cow cheese. That might be great if you're eating dairy, but I like people to think of dairy as a condiment, which is why I like to have crumbled or shredded cheeses around. That way it can just flavor something nicely and add a little bit of salt without adding salt to my food, but it's not going to be in high quantity. I'm not really counting that dairy as a major source of protein. And most people would do just fine if they never had dairy in their life, because there is a high percentage of people that do have a sensitivity or an intolerance to them. Let's talk about incomplete proteins. I said earlier, things like nuts, seeds, starchy veggies, legumes, beans, and even some grains. I think beans is probably the big one, and nuts that people usually put that in a protein category, but really they're incomplete, meaning they don't have all the amino acids present to be like a chicken, turkey, pork, or fish, or beef, where it's complete with everything it needs to be a complete protein. What happens in your body is that these incomplete proteins pair with other things, like a nut and a seed, or a bean and a nut, or a bean and a grain, like rice and beans or something. That would create a complete protein. And so again, we're really just loving to get the nutrients from all of these foods in our bodies, but this is not something you're going to count as sort of your source of protein unless you're a vegetarian, and then you would look at the vegetarian meal plans that are in the TLS Health Guide. So as I was just referring to, a lot of people are intolerant or have some kind of sensitivity to dairy. They may not even be aware of it. Maybe you have acne still on your face and you're an adult. Maybe you get some mild stomach pains. Maybe you get, and this could be from gluten, which is the protein in wheat. It could be from the lactose, which is the sugar in dairy. It could be from the casein, which is the protein in dairy. And eliminating it for a little while is going to help you to determine whether or not that's an issue for you. For a lot of people, it's not, but for many it is. So I, again, like to use cheese as a condiment, and I also like to track in my journal when I'm using dairy as a source of protein. There's actually a section for dairy in your journal. So maybe if you're noticing that you're having a lot of servings of dairy and you're not losing weight as fast as you would like to, maybe that's one thing that we might be able to change, because dairy, like grains, can cause inflammation. So even though it's a protein, you just want to watch your use of it and not have it be your sole source of protein that you're using. Some studies also indicate that elevated insulin levels up to 300% can be yielded from just drinking a glass of skim milk or low-fat milk, and that's really an issue. So, even though the lactose, that's the sugar in milk, shouldn't generally raise your blood sugar that fast, some studies are showing that it is when you're drinking it straight up. So maybe a Greek yogurt's a better idea than just drinking a glass of milk. Now, some people go non-fat. I actually vote low-fat if I had to choose. And, the lower the fat dairy that you go, the higher the sodium content in there. Also, I feel like a low-fat, having some of the fat is going to help you to assimilate and also stay full from eating that food, which is always going to help you to curb cravings. Now, there's a motto in terms of combining foods with TLS, and it's just that protein and fiber at every meal makes losing weight no big deal. And I love that, because I always think about pairing foods anytime that I eat. It's going to be more helpful for weight loss and fat loss, but also for your cravings and for your, your overall satiety. So, when I think of having a veggie or a fruit, I'm always going to try to pair it with a small amount of protein. And, my son has even gotten used to that, where he'll say, Mom, can I have some turkey, and can I also have some raw spinach? Like, it's just an idea that, if you're going to have an apple, maybe you're going to want to have, some almonds with it, or, you're going to use the apple like crackers, and you're going to have a little chicken salad with it, something like that, to be able to pair them together. So you also are going to be able to add good fats. So you might be making dressings or buying dressings that have olive oil in them, or use some olive oil and nuts and stuff in your diet right now, and that's wonderful. Avocado is also a phenomenal source of good fat, and these really are just the best sources, so just stick to those. Some people do look for like a yogurt-based creamy dressing, which I think is okay too in moderation. We happen to have at our Stop and Shop something called Bolthouse Farms, B-O-L-T H-O-U-S-E. Bolthouse Farms has a line of dressings like a French, a ranch, a creamy Italian, or a blue cheese, but they're all yogurt-based. They have low amounts of sugar, low amounts of fat, maybe 5 grams or under, and there's really only like 3 or 4 ingredients in them. So again, if you're using those, sometimes one way you can cut them is put a little vinegar in them. At least you still get that creamy flavor. Sometimes I also make vinaigrette dressings, and I mash up some avocado in mine, and that's going to make it creamy as well. I know some people add hummus to their dressings for the same reason. That's a vinaigrette. Now, which nuts are best is another question we get. Really, any kind of nut that you have, just please try to make sure that it's raw and unsalted, so it's not roasted and salted, which is how most nuts are going to come. Typically in a produce section of your grocery store, you're going to find the raw nuts, and really you can roast them yourself. If you don't love them raw, you can place them on a cookie sheet for about 10 minutes at about 350 degrees and sprinkle them with a little bit of salt and just sort of pull out some of the nice flavor within them. But if you like them raw, that's a great way to go. Just be aware that any time they're going to be exposed to intense or very high heat is going to change any kind of a good fat to a bad fat. And so that's why we don't want to have all those roasted, salted nuts that are at the store. My favorite, 6 top nuts in terms of their overall health benefit, maybe omega content in them for some of them, is going to be almonds. They're very alkalizing to help with pH balance. Walnuts, which have omega-3s in them, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, pecans, and cashews. So these are the ones that I typically stick to in our house. We do also use some pistachios, but again, some people, they might have a higher mold content to them, and some people with those softer nuts do have some sensitivities. Another question that we can get sometimes is, do I have to have that carb from the low GI carb list? And as I said earlier, no. You can survive on proteins, veggies, and fruits, and some nuts, and some good fats in your diet. But if you get hungrier, you have more cravings, you might just, instead of looking for something like a pasta or a grain later on, you may just want to add a starchier vegetable. And I would do that before I added a bean or a legume, because again, beans and legumes, where some people do really well with them, again, create inflammation. We want to alkalize our bodies and get our pH back in balance. We want to lower inflammation best we can so our bodies can function the way that we want them to and that they can lose fat. And so overall, sticking with the vegetables, fruits, proteins, and good fats and good nuts first is always the first line of defense. But I like to add a little bit of sweet potato or spaghetti squash. Even putting some pesto sauce on it or something like that is a great way to be able to add in a starchier vegetable and get one of those low GI carbs and be able to stave off any of my carb cravings. Some people ask if they can eat more than 3 servings of protein per day, and sure, absolutely. We're going to provide rules for you, but again, you need to figure out what's good for you based on your activity level. Maybe you work out a lot and you feel like you need more food. Protein is great to be able to add into your diet. You know, maybe your size, you're a big guy, or you know, you just have been used to eating so much more. So adding a little more protein, again, is going to help you feel more satiated, and that's great. But listen to your body. Always pair the protein with a vegetable, and you know, make sure that you're not going too much overboard or that it's not impeding your progress. Some people also like to eat mini meals, you know, so we're going to give you guidelines about, you know, 3 servings of protein a day, but you may just opt to eat 5 or 6 times a day. So just break up your foods and just be aware of how many, you know, basic servings you're having of the fruits, the vegetables, the proteins, the nuts, and things like that, and that's going to help you. But, you know, mini meals are wonderful for regulating your blood sugar, and so, again, you're just kind of going back to the basic rules, pairing your proteins and stuff with vegetables, but just sort of staying within the guidelines and splitting it up any way that works for you and for your schedule. Now, of course, people are going to ask, what can I drink now? So water and herbal teas are really the only thing that your body needs in terms of hydration. But for those of you who would love to go back to coffee after detox week, it's okay. I would consider getting organic coffee just because the amount of toxins, they're sort of in that, you know, top 10 list. I think they're number 2 in terms of which, you know, foods like fruits and vegetables and stuff like that actually have the highest amount of toxins in them. But organic, you're going to be avoiding that. So that's which way I would go. Green tea and kombucha tea are also really great options, and they have those with or without caffeine. But some of the caffeine in a green tea is actually really helpful as a sort of a 2-pack punch in terms of fat loss, according to a lot of studies. Now, what can I use to sweeten my foods? Just be aware that sweet begets sweet cravings, meaning the more things you eat that have a sweet taste to it, the more your body's going to crave things that are sweet. So even sugar substitutes, you know, that are not supposed to have any kind of effect on your blood sugar can actually cause an insulin response. But things that we might have around our house are stevia. Sometimes in your store you'll find that it's Truvia. Agave, which pours more like a honey, and you want to make sure that that one is raw and organic or has a sticker on it that says it's been proven to be low glycemic index, because some agave don't have that, and they have been shown to have a higher level of, let's say, fructose in it to glucose that wasn't the way it was intended from the agave plant. So you kind of have to be careful when you're purchasing agave. There's also things out there called low HON or low quat, which you can get in, let's say, drops or things like that, or sometimes in a powder, and then sucralose, and the brand name for sucralose is Splenda. So in small amounts, any of these are fine to, let's say, spruce up your Greek yogurt or to put in some fresh brewed green tea, and that would be absolutely fine, you know. But anytime that you can start to use herbs, mint or lemon or lime or things like that, you know, you're going to do really well to try to stay away from some of the sugar. Now, what about alcohol, right? That's the big question. So what we really try to teach in TLS in Rapid Results is that your best results are going to come from abstaining from alcohol for 21 days. So you've already been through a week, and so that means 2 more weeks basically without alcohol. But when you do choose to add it in, a couple of things to be aware of. A, do not drink it on an empty stomach, because any kind of alcoholic beverage really is going to raise your blood sugar, but doing it on an empty stomach not only is going to impair your judgment for what you eat next, but it's also really going to elevate your blood sugar right away. So even if you're going out to eat, which we'll learn more about in one of the following weeks, but you know, eating a side salad right away, or your vegetables, or eating some of the food first to give your body a base is going to be great before you start sipping on your wine. So let's talk about the different types. You know, wine, if you have no problem with yeast, is going to be fine. There's some health benefits certainly from drinking some red wine at night or whatnot, but and some studies show really some actual healthful blood sugar levels for drinking wine with some meals, like a white wine. But just be aware of the serving size again, and doing that on an empty stomach and how much you're actually drinking. You would be just fine not to drink alcohol. But vodka or pure liquors, you know, like a gin or something like that, are also some things that are okay. They're actually the lowest in glycemic index. So an example, though, is that you don't want to be putting sugary things into a drink. So instead of having vodka with juice, which is going to elevate your blood sugar level, now you're going to maybe say, I'll have vodka with club soda and some extra lime, or maybe just a splash of a juice or a mixer of some sort. And then beer would be sort of my least favorite because this does contain gluten. A lot of people do have issues with that. And remember, all of these alcohols are grains, basically. So, well, not wine, but the other ones are grains. But vodka, as long as it's triple distilled, is actually gluten-free. And one of the things that we're trying to do when we eliminate grains is take the gluten out of our life, because such a high percentage of people are just overloaded because it's in everything of our foods, and we've been eating so much of it for our lives that really it's creating inflammation. It is preventing us from losing fat, and a lot of people don't realize that they have sensitivities to gluten or to certain grains and things like that. So we want to try to stay away from that best we can. Even when we add grains back in later, it's certainly not going to be from a gluten category as our first grain that we add back in. Now, really important to also discuss accelerators. We do have nutraceuticals that are going to help you to accelerate your results. So you really want to take a look, and probably you've already purchased one or two things that are going to help you along the process. So perhaps you did the detox kit last week, that 7-day cleansing system, and now it's going to be time to really start your supplements that you have purchased maybe with your first package or that you're interested in now purchasing. Any of the 4 different accelerators that are specific to TLS really are there to support your weight loss goals. Healthy blood sugar levels, carbohydrate issues and cravings, leptin resistance, which has to do with your satiety, having a sluggish metabolism, stubborn belly fat, and stress. So again, we're not trying to just stimulate you. We are, for weight loss, we're really trying to give you ingredients and nutritionals that are going to really help you to regulate your metabolism and get things back on track so your body can function optimally. And what you also see at the bottom here are TLS protein shakes. These shakes are phenomenal. They have 18 grams of protein. They have 10 grams of fiber in it to help to keep you satiated. They only have 2 grams of sugar in it, and yet they taste phenomenal, even if just added with water and maybe a little ice. You can just put them in a blender bottle and shake them, or you can, put them in a blender, and you can even add things like dry peanut butter if you wanted to, or you could add vegetables to them like spinach, raw spinach in them, or you could add berries or something like that to jazz them up, but alone, they're phenomenal. And what we do in our house is we actually put them into Dixie cups and put them in the freezer. And I suppose you could make pops out of them, but if you take them out at dinner and they start to melt a little bit, you have a nice little ice cream type treat at the end of the night if you've made it with berries and stuff like that, and that's going to help us avoid the creamery and the ice cream and the late night snacking to have something like that. So you can use them as a meal replacement, especially for a lot of those people that really either at breakfast or lunch seem to skip a meal, or they just have a very crazy work schedule. They have been a lifesaver for a lot of people to be able to have those shakes and be able to manage through. They just have to continue to watch that they're having enough vegetables, that they're not just doing, we don't promote 2 shakes and a healthy dinner. That's not what we're trying to do. We still want to get in the vegetables, fruits, and all the other proteins, but this is going to be a great option to have a meal on the go, really, or just use a full shake or a half a shake for a snack at some point during the day or the evening. Now, of the 4 accelerators that we do have that you see there on the right, the CLA is really for the belly fat and for the thigh fat, and if you're somebody who's already even lost weight or you already work out, this supplement is going to be phenomenal for helping your body to increase muscle and decrease fat percentage. So it's really a body shaping, and some people really use it as maintenance. In the back, you see one that's called ACTS, and this is an acronym that stands for Adrenal, Cortisol, Thyroid, and Stress Support. What a phenomenal product, both to help with making you feel a little bit more even in terms of your mood, but also giving the right nutritional ingredients to help your thyroid function properly, to help if you're adrenally fatigued, and cortisol, which is from stress, which is going to, really probably promote a lot of the belly fat and issues with your cardiac health. This is going to be a product to help to regulate that as well. So I love that product. In the far back on the right is something called Thermochrome with Hoodia and Advantra Z. These are proprietary blends and also other herbals in them that actually help to stimulate your metabolism and really help with the thermogenic process, which is your body just kind of burning at a higher rate than it was on its own. The only caution then with that product is that it does have some herbal caffeine in it, so if you're caffeine sensitive, and of course, if for anybody, if you're on any medication, you're going to read the label on the back. You're going to watch for any warnings that maybe something may contraindicate, a medication that you're taking. And what you can always do is ask your coach or search on their website for the label, for frequently asked questions, for what the ingredients are and what they do, and then take these to your, healthcare professional, or take them to your pharmacist and ask the right question, which is there any reason I should not take this? Because what you're doing then is that if for some reason you have a healthcare professional who's not aware of what some of the ingredients are or how they work, then you're putting them in a position to have to tell you why. But if you say, should I take this, if somebody is not aware of what it is, they're not going to do their research, and they're going to just maybe say, I don't know, or no, or something like that. So if you would like to take some supplements, these are very safe, and they've helped many, many people to accelerate the results. But again, if you're on medications or have special health issues and concerns, anything that you put in your mouth, you're going to certainly want to make sure that you check and you know what it is that you're taking. One of my favorite products for just about every single person who starts the program with me, though, is the product in the front, which is called Core. This is a fat and carbohydrate inhibitor. Really, what it's doing is helping your body to create good quality insulin and really help to level your blood sugar levels with the chromium that's in there. But there's two other ingredients in this product that help you to feel more satiated by helping the hormone leptin become more sensitive. So your body is more leptin sensitive, and the studies that are done on some of the ingredients that we have are really phenomenal. Look at the left. There was a study using Lepticor, which is one of the 4 ingredients in our Core product, the product called Core. And one of the other ones that was studied is called Green Select Phytosome, which is like a decaf green tea. Look at what the results were in an 8-week double-blind placebo study, is that people's weight starting at like 200 pounds or so, that their weight dropped 11.6 pounds or 5.4%. Their body fat dropped 2.8% in 8 weeks. It's really significant. That they lost almost 2 inches on both their waist and their hip. But look at the other health benefits of this product. Their cholesterol went down 18%. Their bad cholesterol went down 14.7%. Their good cholesterol went up 13.7%. Triglycerides down 7.1%. Fasting blood sugar down almost 8%. And then you've got some really interesting facts here. There's serum serotonin. Serotonin makes you feel satiated. Also gives you sort of a kick of feeling really good. So serotonin is that feel-good neurotransmitter, and it went up 28.6%, where their leptin in their blood went down almost 50%. Now remember what we were saying, that a lot of people are leptin sensitive. And so this product with Lepticor in it can help for you to feel more satiated. It may not be your fault and just your willpower that makes you feel like you're going to graze after a meal. It's a physiological thing for a lot of people to feel hungry. And so you're sitting there trying to stop yourself from eating, but really there's a physiological reason why you continue to have cravings, and this can help. The last one there is C-reactive protein, which is an inflammatory marker that is, really is looked at in a lot of cardiac incidents that people do have, and that even went down. So what great health benefits, and also with this Green Select Phytosome, to see subjects after 30 days dropping 13 pounds and after 90 dropping over 30. So this is a great product to help anybody who's going to follow the program, be able to get faster results. There's no magic pill in a box and stuff like that, but anybody could use whatever help that they can so that maybe you don't sabotage your efforts over behaviors around food, or maybe that you just see some quicker results so it's easier for you to stay on track. And there are other nutraceuticals. If you chose not to have some of the TLS supplements, or you had a medication and you couldn't take one of them, or whatever it might be, talk to your coach, because we have other lines of nutritionals available to us, some of them in an isotonic form that you actually drink. So it's a powder mixed with a specific amount of water, and some things for blood sugar like isochroma for diabetics is wonderful. Resveratrol can really help with weight loss. But maybe you want to replace, a one-a-day type of vitamin you're taking in a pill with something that you're going to absorb better. And we have multivitamins. We've got D with K2. Maybe you've been deficient in that, or your doctor told you to take calcium. These are highly absorbable, highly what we call bioavailable supplements that we have available to us. We have B-complex and antioxidants, a variety of wonderful products in the Isotonics line. Maybe you've got some GI tract issues, or you've got some, problems with digestion in general. Maybe you have acid reflux or other issues that are really affecting you. So we've got great products like digestive enzymes, 2 different kinds, and we've got probiotics and aloe that can really help to right the GI tract. You're going to learn later in this program why that's so important to keep your GI tract healthy, and you, whether you know it or not, started that with Detox Week. And then, of course, we've got other antioxidants and customized nutraceuticals and things like the Complete Greens product on the bottom that could be the nutritional equivalent of about 7 to 8 salads, but being able to take that in either powder to water form or a vegetable-coated pill are going to really help you to get more nutrition than maybe you're getting from all the vegetables that you're eating during the day. So a lot of these things, and can help to boost energy, can help you to just stay on the right track and really support overall and optimal health. So good luck, everybody. You're definitely worth it. Stay the course. It's a lot of information. You may want to view this webinar more than once. You may want to just try the food plan and look at the other resources you have available to you, and then go ahead and touch base with your coach. And just a note on the coaches. We are all coaches who come from different backgrounds with our own areas of expertise, and so your coach is going to have something special that they're able to bring to you. It may just be that they lost a lot of weight and they're walking the walk with TLS, so they know what works for them and have really great tips and ideas that are going to help you. Or they may have a personal training background or a nutrition background or a psychology background or something that's going to help you. But what's really neat about the coaches is that we have together resources within our teams. And so therefore, if there's a question that we can't answer, that something that you need, they're likely to have somebody at their fingertips that they can ask. So be sure to make sure, to keep the lines of communication open with your coach, let them know what you need, and they'll be there to help you. And if you have a moment, I don't want to call it a cheat, but if you have a moment where you had a glass of wine before 21 days, or you found yourself at the creamery after you were good all weekend going to barbecues and whatever, and you ended up having an ice cream and you just, didn't want to go there, don't worry about it. Don't let that spiral you downward. Just get right back to it, because every step you make with TLS is going to get you one step closer to your goal, and it's going to get you one step closer to a really optimal health. So reach out for support, have luck this week, and just try to, pre-plan and get it done, and we know you're going to get there.